I left Cuba on a raft in 1994. My name is Sal, and this is my story. In this video, I will tell you about a little bit about my journey in Guantánamo Bay as a refugee. I have spoken about my other experiences and the raft experience when I left Cuba at that time and everything else on my last two videos. If you wonder how my story starts, you should watch the previous two videos that I spoke about about my experience and when I left, the day I left, the day the universe aligned itself and say yes to all my preparations. I've been reinventing myself all my lives ever since I left Cuba, and I'm in the United States, and I love this country and it's great. It's giving me great opportunities, but I want to tell my story so that people can know that I want to share my story. I want to make sure that it is that I make sure I highlight that the universe says yes always when you prepare yourself to it. When preparation and you dream and your dreams come true, but you have to be ready to open that. You have to be ready to come through that door. Otherwise, the universe is going to show you, but you're not going to be ready to get to the moment. So in this video, I want to speak about my experience in Guantanamo Bay and what I did after that. So after I was in Guantanamo for about 3 4 months, I was acting as a translator. Um, the thing that was expecting the most happened. We got the visa to go to the USA, and I came to the USA on January 17th, 1995. January 17, 1995. And I apologize if for my accent, if I mislead some words, if I say the wrong word. If you have any questions of what I'm about to say, or if you have any comments, please give me the comments before. And if you can subscribe, it will it will also support my channel. It is important to subscribe because some of you come watch my videos and don't subscribe, and that's what that hurts the channel, because I want to make sure that other people also have access to the story, and I can tell my story to more people, and they can benefit that way. One person that benefits from my story is something good, right? Because it means that the message got there. So after 6 months in Guantanamo Bay, what happens? They gave us a visa, and then we arrived to the USA. It's my first day in the USA. We come through Homestead, the airport. Um, it was a very unique experience. I remember we were at a plane hangar, and then we were waiting for our family to collect us, and then that's what my journey really begins in the USA. On my first day, I was still afraid that they were going to turn me back to Cuba. Honestly, I was not sure yet. Am I already out? Am I not out? What am I supposed to feel? I remember, getting into my uncle's brother's house car. That was a 1980 Buick, I believe it was, and I was in the back seat, and I let the air in. So I was coming to Miami. We stopped at a restaurant like every other Cuban that when it comes here, some of them they take you to a Cuban restaurant, they give you a Cuban sandwich, just it's a tradition pretty much, or they take you to eat a big steak because they think you're hungry and you haven't eaten, and they know that there is no meat in Cuba for the regular people, so they give you a big steak, and they try to feed you, and so such a good stuff. So we went to a Cuban restaurant, we had a Cuban sandwich, and then we went home. And then our journey starts there. We get in those times we were getting our work permit right away, very fast, and I was prepared. I had learned English in Cuba before, and I had learned Italian, and I was actually in my way to learn French as well, because I was like, I'm gonna learn as many languages as I can in Cuba so that I can get out of here. It could be through a visit, it could be through a work visa, anything. But the moment came and the universe aligned and things happened because I was getting ready. I think it's all because of that. If I would not prepare myself, if I would have not start my journey of preparation and my journey of doing the right thing and do something productive every day, I would have not come. Probably the door would not open, and so I would not have been ready. Anyways, um, so I get home. I get here. They give me my in 10 days. They give us our visa, our work permit, and I start working. I get that work permit, right? So I need to get a job. I need to get a job in the USA. So um, I get on the bus. I was in Hialeah, Florida. So I get on a bus, and then when I am on the bus, I say hi to a lady that is sitting right in front of me, and she says hi. She says hi back, and I'm like, "Do you speak?" I notice an accent, right? So I told her, "You speak? Are you Italian?" She goes, "Yes." How do you know? Well, I notice your accent, and I speak Italian too. So we start communicating in Italian, and here's and then we start talking in Italian and this and that, and I told her my story, and she goes, "Well, um, in the place that I'm going, which is where I live." So I am on the bus talking to this a person, to this Italian lady, right? I'm telling her my story. So she tells me, "Well, in the place that I go, which is where I live, they're looking for a doorman. I can introduce you to the manager, and then if she likes you, you can maybe start the job." I say, "Wow, that's good. Yes, of course." So it happens that the bus stop was right there in front of the condominium in Miami Beach. So I interviewed with the lady, with the manager of the property, which is the property manager was an American person, and super sweet lady. And then I interviewed with her, and then she decides to give me the job. So I want to make something clear, and I want you to visualize this, because in this case, I want to talk about how the universe also works and opens doors. And when somebody prepares in advance, I have prepared in advance, right? I didn't know that the Italian, if you think about it, by learning Italian, it opened my first door on my first job in the USA. If I would have known Italian, I would have never recognized the the person. I would have never recognized the accent of the person. Would have never be able to communicate with that lady, right? And then I wouldn't have been able to get that my first job so quick. I got my first job right out of, pretty much right out of the plane. 10 days later, the day after I got my work permit. What my point is, when when you prepare and you do things without knowing, right? Even though you don't know that you're getting ready. It's like in every job. Let's say you have a job and you're working on that job, and you're getting the skills, and you're learning the skills. You're learning the how to communicate with people. You're learning how to be a leader. You're learning how to speak. You learn about the body language. Reinventing yourself means that you got to prepare for changes. You got to prepare for what life brings you new. For example, if you learn skills, all the skills that you learn are going to be transferable to the next level. In this case, I learned Italian in Cuba. So what happens? I went and I got the job, my first job in the USA as a doorman, because I spoke Italian. If I would have never learned Italian, I would have never been able to talk to this wonderful lady, Italian lady on the bus, and she would not have tell me about the job that was available on her condominium. That was my first job in the USA, right? I was getting paid. So excited. Are you ready for this? $5.25 an hour, $5.25 an hour. And I was happy. I was very, very happy because it was my first job. I was gonna have money for rent. I was gonna have money to take the bus and eat. So as I started doing this, I moved to Hialeah. We moved to a new apartment, and we start our journey in the USA. This journey is wonderful. I started working at night, meeting different type of people, and so from there I spent like about a year and a half. But remember, my style has always been to learn something new all the time, every day I have to advance a little bit. Otherwise, I stay behind. And it's like that everywhere, no matter what the country is. When I was in Cuba, I was preparing all the time. I was trying to advance a little bit every day, even though there was no movement, but I was getting ready for the transition to leave the country when I had my freedom. And once I had it, then I can use those skills, um, those transferable skills, and that reinvention to the USA. In Cuba, I learned, even though now that I reflect on it, I was a tourist guide for 1 year on my own. I created my own little business. I will go to the high-end hotels, and I will solicit. I will look for tourists that needed a guide. So I will guide them through Havana. Guys, I only get paid what, $20 a day back in 1994, $20 a day. For me, it wasn't about the money. It was about getting that experience, practicing the language, practicing, getting that opportunity out there, because I wanted it to get a customer or maybe a client or maybe a tourist that would tell me, hey, you know what? Let me give you a visa. Let me take you to my country. And I also wanted it to practice. I was looking for the opportunity at the same time I was learning. But it is important that if you're gonna reinvent, you do something that is that puts you toward that reinvention, right? The skills that I was learning was people skills. I was learning negotiation. I was learning sales because I have to sell myself to these people on the fly. I had to be able to learn the culture of Cuba. So I was kind of like learning, like performing, because you have to, when you are a tourist guide, you have to kind of perform in a way that people are entertained by you, not like in a weird way, but you have to be able to articulate the culture that you're really, that you're selling, even in a different language. And at the same time, I was practicing. So that's how you reinvent yourself, right? And then that's how you keep advancing in life. And in this country, I found that it's fascinating because every single thing that I did, and every single skill that I learned, brought me to the next level of success, and it allowed me to have more freedom, a little bit of more money, and towards my goal. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, keep please subscribe. And if you have value, if you know anybody who will like this video, send it to them. Subscribe, support my channel. If you want to know about my story, watch the previous videos. And I'm also now, my next video is going to be about what I did after my first job in the USA and how I took advantage of